Welcome back to the What I Wish I Knew Sooner podcast. This podcast is all about life, entrepreneurship, creativity, and what success looks like and feels like in your 20s and 30s.
Today, we're speaking to someone who's found a really fresh, authentic way to tell entrepreneurial stories. Ama, the founder of the Nova Boba Start-Ups Podcast.
Ama has built a media platform and a podcast that spotlights early stage Gen Z founders who are still figuring it out, but also sharing their journey along the way.
Ama's mission is to show you that you don't have to wait until you're successful. You can start sharing your journey, building your dream, and leading the way now. So, welcome to the podcast, Ama.
Thank you for having me.
Can you please give us a quick introduction to yourself?
My name's Ama. I'm an ex-startup founder, used to have an edtech company, and now I'm the host of the Nova Boba Podcast, where we spill the tea on being a startup founder. Outside of podcasting, I really like to sing. I like matcha. I love bubble tea. And yeah, I like going to the theatre.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love singing.
Do you?
Yeah, she's a really good singer.
I literally love it.
Really?
I used to post on TikTok and then I just didn't anymore.
What sort of music do you make?
It's all about you now, Ama.
Oh,
That's the music to you.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, music. I like gospel music.
Oh, do
So I
you?
used to sing in gospel choir. Yeah.
Nice.
Do you still do it?
I do now and then. So now part of my church, we have special occasions where we sing. But before, when I used to not have a startup, singing was my massive passion. But with a startup, all my hobbies sort of went in the bin. So I'm trying to get back into it.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah.
I'll come to gospel with you.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Amma, obviously you've had your podcast, I think, is it 2 years now?
It is, yes.
Yeah. So what do you feel like is missing from the podcast world in 2025?
So yeah, a bit of a backstory. I started a podcast because I felt that the specific type of podcast I was doing was missing. So when I was a startup founder at university, there wasn't that many people talking about entrepreneurship starting when you're young and like really spilling the tea on what it is to have a startup. I would listen to Diary of CEO. He's one of my inspirations. But all the sort of entrepreneurs he would bring on were talking about their experiences in hindsight. They had very successful startups like 5, 10 years ago. And I kind of wanted to talk to people who were just a couple steps ahead of me because I think the best mentors are people who are just ahead of you rather than 5 steps on. So I reached out to other founders on LinkedIn who had just been running a startup a little bit longer than me and asked them to share their insights. And I thought that if I find this helpful, this could be helpful for aspiring entrepreneurs. And also a lot of business podcasts were really serious. So I thought, bring the bubble tea element. We play games like Never Have I Ever. We do bubble tea analysis on the type of personalities, founders we think they have. And yeah, it was meant to just be this fun, real podcast that I felt was missing and profiling people who were on the journey.
We've definitely noticed that as well, haven't we? There's not really anything targeted for new founders.
Yeah.
So everything nowadays is about people that have already made it
Yeah.
rather than people that are at the beginning of their journey.
Precisely.
Yeah.
When people speak about their experiences in hindsight, even though it's so inspirational, I don't know if you've ever had a bad situation. When you speak about things in hindsight, you aren't telling the practical insights. And we really wanted people who were on the journey saying day to day how they run things, who they spoke to get this done, what agencies they were using to build their tech product.
Like the practical realities of building
Exactly.
Because I think often when you look back in time, you see things with rose-tinted glasses.
It's true.
It was easy.
Oh, it wasn't that bad, or it was a time, Yeah. But then some people on the podcast are even crying because of how stressful it is at the moment.
And it sounds like you've got a really fun approach to the podcast. Like it's more Gen Z targeted.
Yeah, just a really fun, chill. We want it to be easy listening.
I think also now a lot of Gen Zs are becoming entrepreneurs because it's so easy with AI and just the digital world. Before, not many people had that opportunity. So it's really nice. We're targeting people who need it.
Yeah, there's definitely a growing trend. I think
Yeah.
50% of people in Generation Z want to have a business, which is way more than any previous generation before. And I think you're right, with the tools, it's becoming a lot easier. Everyone wants to be their own boss. People are job hopping, realizing the 9 to 5 isn't for them. Everyone's got like side hustles. Yeah. So it's definitely a growing market.
It's also interesting as well, and go back to Diamond Priestley,
Yeah.
but he talks about how the school system doesn't talk about entrepreneurship. And I think now that there's so much out there about it,
Yeah.
It's now seen as an option.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the thing is, I feel like one type of person before were startup founders. Whereas I think when we democratize access to entrepreneurship, we'll have all different kinds of people entering entrepreneurship, more women, more diversity. And I think that's when we can have a really great world when all types of people are solving different problems.
Yeah.
Not just like one sort of person, which I'm sure the stats around venture capital. It's not.
We need to change that.
We need to change it. I think one day we'll see a world where everyone will feel like they can build a startup.
Yeah, we're changing the vision of what a founder looks like.
Precisely.
we saw recently you interviewed Georgie Holt, which is amazing. Like, she's incredible. She has a company alongside Stephen Bartlett. Yeah, I guess we really want to know, how does it feel talking to these people and why is that important to you?
Yeah, so Georgie Holt is amazing. She's the CEO of Flight Story, which is the production company behind Diary of the CEO and other podcasts like We Need to Talk and Davina McCall's podcast. And I met her at an event because at university I was part of an accelerator program called Kickstart Global. And they had an alumni event a couple years later and they had Georgie Holt speaking because she wanted to connect with other young entrepreneurs because they have an investment arm of the Flight Studio, which invests in people's companies. And she was so inspirational, such a hard worker. Like the work ethic is insane. And she was like, guys, if you want to be successful, you got to take the big swings. You got to break through walls. You've got to make things happen. And she was like, if anything you want, ask anything you need, just don't be afraid. And then I asked her at the event, I was like, would you come on the podcast? And she was like, yeah. And it was just amazing being in the room with her, not in a bad way, but it's actually quite intimidating because she's such a powerful lady. Yeah. And you're like, whoa.
Successful.
She's so successful and so well versed in everything she does. She reached out to Stephen Bartlett on a cold email a couple of years ago.
Oh, wow. Is that how she started working with
That's how she started working with him. She was like, I'm doing this production company for podcast. Do you want to join me? You're like, no. Yeah.
And he
And
was
then
just like, yeah.
he was like, whoa, yeah.
Whoa.
And they co-founded
Yeah.
See,
Flight
if
Story.
Georgie can do it, we can do it.
So you mentioned that from an early age you realized you were entrepreneurial. Can you tell us a bit about how you came to realize this and also a bit about the educational platform that you built?
Yeah, sure. From a young age, I loved Oprah Winfrey. You know, when someone said she was a billionaire, I was like, oh, money, that sounds quite fun. And to be fair, it started off superficial. And then I went to school and I had Galaxy Cookie Crumble. Do you guys
Oh,
have They've discontinued it now.
yeah. I
Do you
feel like
remember
that
it?
rings a bell.
Yeah, it was this Galaxy with like Cookie Crumble in it.
Oh, yeah.
Do you
Sorry,
remember
I
that?
thought you were talking about some sort of software.
No, oh, okay. No, I'm literally just talking about chocolate. I used to buy it before school every day. Such a bad habit I got into before like the tuck shop at school.
Yeah.
And then I remember I was eating it in science class. And I remember my friend was like, oh, I want some of your Galaxy Cookie Crumble. And I only had a line left.
Did she sell it?
No, the thing is, I didn't want to sell it. I would never sell chocolate to a friend. I would normally just give a friend chocolate. But I had another friend sat next to me who was like, oh, I want the Galaxy Cookie Crumble. I was like, well, I have a line. And then one said, I'll pay you for it.
Yeah.
And that's when it hit me. I was like, ding, ding, ding. Money started ringing in my head. I was like, you pay me for this? And I remember they started bidding. So Caitlin was like, I'll give you £1. Andrew was like, I'll give you £2. Like, Caitlin was like, I'll give you £3 for this one line of Galaxy Cookie Crumble. But it was the last period in school. So everyone's ravishing. And then I remember, I think Andrea might have been the highest bidder. And then I was like, all right, you could take it.
So did you get £2?
I think I got more than that.
Oh my god.
I know it was.
Return on investment.
That return on investment was crazy. And I remember feeling almost guilty about it. But then I was thinking, there's something here. Eventually I had to stop. School was finding out that it's just too much.
I love that that's your origin story to how you realised you were an entrepreneur. Like, what a great way. Oh, I was selling sweets to my friends in schools. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy that you can exchange value for money. That is all business is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think it just hit me. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a cool way to live life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then how did that turn into you launching your own business in the future?
After, the school shut it down, I completely forgot about my entrepreneurial ambitions. This was when I was about 11. And then when I went to uni, I was a maths tutor. And I noticed that some of my students, it wasn't only maths and science they needed help with. I used to do chemistry as well. They needed help with their resilience, their public speaking, and sort of the soft skills that I felt weren't taught in school.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, if I could make an online platform that could be a hybrid of both these skills, perhaps they could do well in school and also improve their personal development, because it wasn't that they weren't good at maths that was holding them back. It was the fact that they didn't believe in themselves. And I just felt that there needs to be this hybrid of a learning platform. And that's exactly how it began. I reached out to parents, would you be interested in having a child join this platform? And this was in 2019. And then when I fully graduated uni in 2020, because of the pandemic, online tutoring and sort of personal development and online platforms really took off. And that was it.
That's amazing. How did it work in practical terms then? Did you have other tutors join?
So we had, at the height of it, we had about 45 tutors join, and it would be matched automatically, and they'd be tutoring using the platform online.
How did you source tutors that were specialised in those soft skills?
That was tough. So we used to just train tutors up on it. So we didn't really find resilience tutors because all the tutors we had were university students. So we would just train them on how to teach children public speaking, teach children entrepreneurship skills, teach children how to goal set.
That's a really good idea. I think that would have
Mm.
benefited me so much because just like that
Yeah.
example, I didn't do very well in math when I was
Mm.
younger at school, but I think a lot of it was because I didn't believe in myself.
That's what it boiled down to for most of my students. People were always telling them they were bad at maths and they just had these subconscious beliefs that kind of just needed to be,
I try then.
yeah, that needed to be unwired.
I think you just need that one person to tell you that you can do it, because it might not necessarily be your parent who says that. So you
Yeah.
need someone outside who is going to be like, you can do this. You have so much talent and skills. Just go for it.
Just go for it. And all the
Yeah.
uni students, first of all, we selected them because they were super positive and they were quite close in age to the students we were teaching. So I think also that rapport, it's not like a teacher telling you can do it or your parents telling you can do it. It was someone who was close in age and you had just started uni. Yeah.
And what did success look like then?
Success, we got some grant funding from Sky, UCLE VC, and even Bakaya Saka gave us a laptop. And yeah, it was going well until it wasn't. so, so we got scammed by this company that built our platform. It was just a completely shoddy company, and I lost so much money from that. And also, our target market, we were targeting state school students, and their parents didn't have a lot of money. I think that's one thing in business. Make sure the people, your ICP, your ideal customer profile, have enough money to spend. Once we realized we couldn't get enough parents on from individual, we started going to schools because it was more of a B2B approach. And also schools are very difficult to get into. You need a data protection officer if you're going to schools, if you want to put online platforms on their system. Schools don't have money either, especially state schools. People are like, oh, target private schools. But the motivation for me sort of had left. They're really good platforms that charge a lot of money for private school students and things like that. It just wasn't something I was that passionate about. I really wanted to help these particular demographic, but they don't really have a lot of money. So eventually I just started losing money. And then I just felt the consumer sentiment shifted massively after pandemic. And when people started going back into school after 3.5, 4 years, I was like, yeah, it's time to sort of wrap it
Yeah.
up.
I guess you've also got to balance making money with purpose as well, because if the original purpose was helping those state funded schools, then just chasing money and going
Yeah.
after those private kids, it's not really
Yeah,
giving
but
you the same feeling, is it?
I think you're so right in that's what the mistake I made. I had some savings from a job I was working part-time along the startup, but once you run out of money, everything is really difficult to do. I feel like you can't just go on purpose and drive alone. There has to be this financial aspect of how you're actually going to make money.
I'm just so blown away from the scam thing. Obviously, you learn from every single situation
Mm.
that you go through in entrepreneurship.
What did you learn from that set?
Yeah.
No, what I learned was that cheaper can be more expensive. Because I had limited funds, I was going for the cheapest option, what I thought would be fine, but you can end up paying the price for something that's just not good. So maybe if I'd raised a bit more money, waited a little bit later and found a more reputable company and hadn't been rushing, perhaps the company would still be here today.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? You did amazing. The fact that you
Um,
came up with this idea before university and
Mm.
launched it just straight after, that's incredible for someone at such a young age to do.
Thank you. It was part of programs where there were other young people building startups, so it didn't feel too scary because there were people my age building way bigger stuff and had way more investment. So I think it's good to be around those people because then it doesn't feel not normal.
What did you study at university?
I studied chemistry and then I did a master's in technology entrepreneurship. I went to University of Nottingham for chemistry and UCL for technology entrepreneurship.
You go to Nottingham.
Oh, I did.
Did
I went to
you?
Nottingham Trent University. Did
Okay.
you go to Nottingham?
Yeah.
At uni of?
Yeah, yeah.
I'd always be like, T-R-E-N-T, we are the Trent Army.
Yeah. Did you go to the Point Arena for the
Cheerleading.
Yeah.
I was in cheer. I was a
Oh my
player.
gosh, were you?
Yeah.
I might have seen you. I can almost
Cheerleader.
No, I wasn't, but I just used to really like going to watch the cheerleading.
Yeah.
And I remember the Trent girls did this scandalous thing. I used to think like, whoa, those girls.
Wow.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
were feisty.
Feisty, yeah.
So, Emma, what would you say to young people who want to start a podcast or want to start a business, and they have the thought in their head and they do want to do it, but sometimes, like, obviously, you don't have all of the equipment or you don't have that drive to go. What would you say to young people who really want to start but don't know how?
I would say that every excuse in your head is valid, but you've just got to find a way to overcome the excuses. If someone wants to start something, you've just got to start. You've just got to jump in the pool. It's going to be cold. It's going to be hard, but it's the only way you can truly learn about how to progress your business. So this is really cliche advice, but you've actually just got to do it. No one's going to really push you. No one's going to believe in yourself more than you. You just got to have faith in yourself and think about what's the worst case scenario. Because I remember when I started posting content online for publicizing my tutoring company, the worst case scenario for me was someone would find the videos unhelpful and I'd get some hate comments. So then I posted that I was doing tutoring and to join the platform. And someone did write a hate comment. Someone was like, "Oh, your teaching's crap and I would never take advice from you." But then it happened and it wasn't that bad, you know?
Yeah.
Your fear in your head is way bigger. And I asked him, "Oh, thank you for the feedback. Where did you think I could improve? What answers did you think were wrong?" And he just deleted his comment.
Yeah, because he's just a troll.
Yeah.
Literally, it's just trolls then.
It's just a
to
troll.
make you feel bad.
Yeah. But when it happened, I thought I would lose my life if I got some hate. And it just, honestly, the world just kept spinning. Everyone's world, including mine and his. So,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, because I guess it's only one person compared to all the people that did find it helpful.
Yeah, exactly. And even if it had been 20 people, the feedback is actually still helpful.
Yeah, just needs to make it a bit more constructive next time.
Yeah.
So the way that I source guests, obviously I reached out to you on LinkedIn. I think that's my main strategy to sourcing guests and getting to know them if I don't already. I love LinkedIn. I don't know about you.
I love LinkedIn too. It's my
Yeah,
favorite social
it's so
platform.
good.
Yeah.
How do you source your guests for your podcast, Nova and Boba?
Good question. So, a couple of things: Instagram, LinkedIn, and going to events. On Instagram, maybe I see an article about someone in the Business Insider, someone I really want to chat to. I saw this guy that had dropped out of UCL when I was doing my master's, and I said, "I saw you dropped out of UCL and I saw your article in the Business Insider. Would you want to come on the podcast?" And I also did thorough research on what he did. I made it really detailed. And I was like, "I'm recording the podcast on this date. I would love for you to be there." And people usually say yes if you've done enough research on them. I remember you saying you had talked to Nicola, and I felt that was having something in common, a connection, and then have the podcast date set. I was like, it's kind of happening. I also told them about the mission. I really want to help people who are aspiring entrepreneurs on the journey, selling the mission, doing the research, and just putting the date in, being like, it's happening. So I'd love you to come on. I used to make loads of content around the podcast and around different events, and then people would see that and actually would reach out to me to come on the podcast. And then the third one was going to events. Kickstart Global do events, Entrepreneur First, Barclays Eagle Labs. Just go to the events, meet entrepreneurs and be like, I have this podcast, where I'm at Georgie Holt. Would you like to come on?
I guess it gets easier as time goes on and you have all the evidence of these amazing guests coming onto podcasts. But when you're just starting out and you don't have that kind of backlog,
Yeah.
guests, how do you really sell it and make it seem worthwhile for them?
I think it's the mission. Because every early stage startup founder I was reaching out to, I think they believed in the mission. The initial is a really great thing because it's new, it's exciting. You message someone like, I've just started this super cool podcast. We drink bubble tea, we spill the tea, and your story's amazing because of X, Y, and Z. And I'm genuinely excited to meet you and interview you. And I know your story's going to inspire people. A lot of people will just be like, yeah. And we used to reach out to founders who do want to build their personal brand as well. So they were up for it.
How do you build the courage up to reach out to people that you really admire?
Good question. They can just say no or ghost you, and either of that's fine.
True, you're not losing anything.
You're not losing anything. Yeah.
Building up that rejection almost, being like, it's okay if they say no.
Yeah.
Right.
It's completely fine. You can message 10 people, and if one person says yes, that's fine. Rejection is just, you got to love it.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing. People have their reasons why maybe they're too busy, or some people who've initially said no, like Timothy Amu. He started a business, 21, sold for 8 figures. I messaged him about 8 times before he came on, and he said no initially quite a few times, ghosted me, and then
Give you reasoning?
no time. I think he's normally paid tens of thousands to come on people's podcasts. So he just was like, this is not relevant for me at all. I don't want to come on your little podcast. And then there was an opportunity to work with the University of Oxford. And I said, oh, there's this opportunity that comes up to work with the University of Oxford. The colleges that record in Oxford are loads of money. And I said, I can get it for free, Message him with his new proposal. He was like, all right, then I'll come on.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Mm.
So no matter how many times that you reach out, you just have to keep going, build up that resilience, and then eventually you'll probably get a yeah.
Yeah, and it always came with something like a little bit different, you know. This next time, will you want to do it if it's like this? Would you want to do it if it's like that? So it wasn't like, can you come on? Can you come on? Can you come on? You know, it was more like,
We're going to be actually filming in Buckingham Palace.
yeah, yeah. So if you want to come on now, yeah,
You might be able to meet the Queen.
yeah. That's exactly it. Because who's going to say no to that, you know?
I was just going to ask,
Mm.
can you tell us a bit more about the marketing strategy behind the podcast?
Oh, you know, there isn't really one, which is not a great thing. So I just post fun clips from the podcast or a fun picture with me and the guest. And I say 3 key things people can learn from the podcast if they watch it, and then just post it on LinkedIn. So that's kind of the strategy. We do a couple shorts per episode. We do a massive LinkedIn post generating it, and even encouraging the guests, could you please share it? Write your own post about it. That also brings their audience in. That's kind of a marketing strategy we have.
Because I know on YouTube you have 2.8.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, where do you think you got that audience from?
We used to run live podcast events at universities. So we run one at the London School of Economics, Oxford University, UCL, and this is going to sound quite shameless, but we'd be like, we'll give away free bubble teas at the event. If you're subscribed to the podcast, you'll get free bubble tea. So that's where we got our initial early subscribers.
We were literally wondering, we were like, what is the story behind the bubble tea?
Yeah.
The story behind the bubble tea. So the edtech was called Nova. I wanted to speak to guests because Nova means like new bright star. And I really feel that entrepreneurs are the new bright stars, the next generation of, you know, the future essentially. And Boba, because it just kind of rhymes with Nova.
Yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason behind it. It was just,
Oh, so it rhymed and then you were like, oh, let's do.
let's do Nova and Boba and then we'll have bubble tea. So it is really random. People are like, why is the Boba in? But it's also a thing that people remember. So it's good to have something that people can.
I thought Boba was in a
Yeah,
bread.
isn't Boba the like small ball?
Yeah, you can call it boba or bubble tea. Yeah. The podcast actually used to be called The Bench. And our first guest, we were going to film in winter, and he was like, I'm not sitting outside on a bench.
Were you actually going to do it outside on a bench?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, okay.
I also
Yeah.
that name has more negative connotations because, you know, being on the bench. I don't know if you heard the
Oh,
term at
sitting on the
work.
bench.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you kind of off a project at that time.
Yeah. And it's in football, isn't it?
Boba is more positive.
More positive, a little bit more vibey. And his office was in Soho House. And that's how we got started. His name was Charles Robinson. We spoke to him when the first day he started his company called Water 2. And now Bear Grylls is now his co-founder.
Wow.
So we say that we find these unicorn founders before they make it really big.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is crazy.
I think that's why it's so important to be able to interview people who are in the middle of it, because they could become big and then you can see their whole entire journey.
Yeah, and he is becoming super big.
And when you say we, do you mean, have you always had a team?
First of all, it was me and Torren, who was my editor and videographer. He actually, this is not a bad thing at all, but he actually left Nova and Boba to work with Charles on Water 2. So I was like, no! Because they met at the podcast, but that was all well and good. We found a new videographer who is actually my intern, Vu, and we have a couple of other interns that work with us that produce shorts, that film, and do things like that, general marketing.
I feel like that's really good because it takes off a lot of stress of creating the videos because it can be time consuming. Is it like running a podcast with interns and also just like having a full production process in place?
It's tough. Having one intern was manageable. I don't really see myself as a manager, more like of the creative wanting to host a podcast. But then once you have a team, you have to start thinking of being a manager. And when you have people who are really experienced that I used to have initially, they kind of manage themselves. But with interns, you have to guide them. You've got to be there for their learning and development. So you're also having to think of that, which is actually pretty tricky. But what I love that the interns bring is this new, fresh energy. And once they are trained up, it's really good. And they come with so many ideas that I would have never thought of.
I think that's why it's so important to not be just solely alone in a team, like we said earlier.
Yeah.
I love that we work together because we get super excited.
Yeah, you can
and-
bounce ideas off.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they always say if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with people. And even though there are teething issues managing a team, I won't say it's easy at all. Things moved better. And the podcast grows better when you have a good team around you.
3 heads above.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
So you talked about the role of bubble tea,
Mm.
starting out and offering bubble teas at university. How would you say what the value is of having it feature in the podcast now? Do you find that it sets people at ease?
It's just a nice to have on the podcast. So when we do the bubble tea analysis, so because I drink so much bubble tea, I'm like, if you tell me your bubble tea order, I can tell you about yourself. So I don't know what your guys' favorite bubble tea order
Do you
is.
know what? I've never tried bubble
Have
tea.
you not?
No, because I think it's like the balls at the bottom scare me. I do think I won't like this.
Yeah.
You're gonna love it. It's so good.
Do you know what? People say that all the time. I remember I gave one of the guests bubble tea and they just feel very assaulted by the balls, like the drinking and the eating. They just don't like it. But I guess it's a starting point for people. It's a bit of novelty.
I just
Yeah.
ask you what you think I am.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
tell you my
please,
order.
please do.
I'm usually mango or watermelon and lychee. It's always lychee. I have to have lychee in it because
Because it's lychee's delicious. So
Yeah.
my spider senses are telling me you
Oh, don't say anything bad.
no. So the thing is, good and bad stuff. Mango's like a really light, fun drink. It's got a lot of
It's funny, I love it because now people listening who go on your podcast are gonna be like, I'm not ordering the mango.
I'm not ordering. No, the mango's a really good, refreshing flavor. Someone who's light, who's funny, who's got great energy. Mango, is a really great fruit, and it's enjoyable for everyone, which means you're super likable. The only thing that's maybe bad about mango is that it is quite conventional, and maybe you've not stepped out your comfort zone yet. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I need to really do my research. And lychee, I don't know if you like to travel and like new experiences, but
You do?
lychee tells me that even though it's quite conventional, the mango, you do sometimes step out your comfort zone with a bit of lychee.
I do.
Maybe it's like you guys are your personality.
Exactly.
Like the one that wants the safe zone and the one that wants to step out.
That's
She's in
it.
my
That's it.
line.
Yeah. You get elements and sparks of inspiration where you do go for things. Yeah.
100%. That might be why I'm always like, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this, changing all the time.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a bit more about what you learned from the first business and why you think perhaps it didn't scale as well as you'd expected?
I'd say the three key learnings were not having enough money. I learned this from Timothy Amu, who said, I think you need about half a year worth of savings to really go all in on your dream because you don't want to be thinking about money because startups don't make that much money in the beginning. They usually get investment first. And you need to have a security blanket that you feel safe enough going all in on your dream. And I didn't have that. So I started running out of money and started feeling the pressure. And then that's when you feel the pressure financially, you can't think freely.
Yeah.
And that was an issue, not having enough savings or not having enough investment. The second thing was not finding a good development company. I think it's probably good to go to these events, meet a CTO. You can go to YC co-founder matching places, entrepreneur first, places where you can find technical builders. Because when you don't really know what you're doing, asking a development agency to build what you don't really know is going to work, you'll just waste loads of time. You don't even have a lot of money, so you can't even find the best people. And I'd say the third thing is not having a good customer profile. I was targeting people that, as I was mentioned before, didn't have enough money. And you should always know what business model you're going to have. I know it sounds so trivial, like how could you go into business and not have a proper business model? But yeah, I didn't.
I feel like that's why building an MVP now is quite good because it's not as heavily funded and
Yeah.
you can just test it out. So
See if people want it and see how much they're willing to pay for it. Because if it's not enough, if you're selling something at £3 and you need 100,000 people to buy it, you've got to make sure that you can reach 100,000 people or have a more expensive product.
And that's why it's important for young founders, if they do want to create business, to just do their market research, make sure people need it, and then create the prototype.
Go create the prototype and be like, how much will you pay for this? Or will you even pay for this?
Yeah.
And don't be afraid. Someone can give you money. Like some people who have really shoddy businesses, if the problem's strong enough, people pay them to solve this particular problem, even though it doesn't look perfect.
Just a quick question for a lot of people who struggle with this. How do you deal with rejection, failure, setbacks?
I used to work briefly in sales at tech startups. So we were taught that you need to message someone like 20, 30 times before you get one. So it was always that conversion. So every no was just leading you that one step closer to the yes. So rejection was never a bad thing. It was always the next thing you had to do. And I think working in sales really transformed the way I thought about life. A no now is not a no forever. Some people have said no to the podcast and they come back eventually. And dealing with failure, I guess it's just part of life. I'm a Christian, so I read a lot of things in the Bible about people who failed and they've come through in the end. And I think it's just always really important to have faith, maybe not religious faith, but faith in yourself and your dreams that it will happen one day.
Yeah. Don't give up and stay strong on your idea. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it's nothing personal, you know.
But I was wondering if you could talk us through how your podcast sponsorships came about.
Our first bit of money came from Entrepreneur First. I had met a lady called Kitty who was the head of the early stage talent. She now is the CEO of something called Project Europe that she runs with Harry Stebbings. I met her at some Entrepreneur First events, and again, I would ask her for money and she would say no. And then I just asked her maybe about the third time for money and she was like, oh, actually, we're trying to reach some founders in Oxford and we really like Timothy Amu, who's quite a big name. Okay, yeah, this time I will sponsor you and I will fund you. And then the other one was Barclays Eagle Labs. I met a guy that I pitched at an event and he says, if you want any help with a podcast, I'll help you out. And he introduced me to the head of sponsorships who then funded another sponsorship for the podcast. And then UCL Innovation Enterprise, I was running a live podcast there and I was like, oh, I need money. And they were initially like, everyone doesn't really want to give money, but I sold them the value and they also sponsor the podcast.
I think that bit is really important, selling them the value, because that's the main point of it. What can they get in return for this as well?
That is such a good point. It's never about you. It's always what you can give them because no one really cares about you and your. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't. Seriously, they don't. Everyone's like, what's in it for me? If I'm giving my hard earned money, I want to make sure I'm getting some sort of good return on this. Someone said it's really good to value what their needs. Maybe have a pre call with them, see what they're actually looking for because what you think they want might not be what they want. Have a call with them, see their needs, and then see how you can give them what they want, basically.
How did you find the venue that you're in now?
It's funny, people call us the portable podcast because we move anywhere that's free, we will go. So now I just film from where I live.
Oh,
Yeah, I know. So it's full.
that's your house that you film in.
The most recent ones, it's not my house, but it's like a living space. I know it sounds crazy, but yeah, it's just every single time we've tried something, it's not really worked. So, I mean, it has worked for the time, but
It's not sustainable.
it's not sustainable. And then also when people sponsor your podcast, you're always at the mercy of what they want and their needs. So I guess filming it, I don't want to do this long term, but when you film it where you live, there's not too much complications that happen there. Yeah, we're looking for more sponsorships to have a proper studio. But for now, I guess it's just making it work with what you have.
You got to do what you got to do. You have to go for it.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of if you are building a business is I genuinely think the secret ingredient, which isn't secret, is you just have to do it. If you don't do it, it's never going to happen. And that's where people struggle.
Yeah, that's true. You just got to make it work somehow.
Do you have any tips and advice for people that do want to start a podcast? What's your go-to advice?
Make sure people want the podcast. Make sure it's a bit different, it's fun, it's niche. Find your target market and then always plug your podcast in these places. I would add myself to tons of group chats, young university group chats that I would blast the podcast in. Do you want to listen to this week's episode? Do you want to do that? So find where they are and find your listeners.
Yeah.
And check if they really want it.
This is called Hot Take.
Oh, I can't lie, I love a hot take. I was even telling my friend, my hot take is that hay fever is man-made. But anyway, I'm going to let you guys go.
How are we allergic to the environment and the world?
In the world, because the urban planning, this is so conspiracy. People are like, I'm relaxed, but they plant specific varieties of plants that are really
allergenic.
Yeah. And also they plant male species that really have so much pollen. And it's like, they know all this. If you're planning a city, why do you keep planting trees that people are allergic to? But anyway, that's my hot take.
Okay, so we're going to throw out some hot takes and you can tell us if you agree, disagree, why. Not every podcast needs 1 million views. You've just got to focus on being useful to the right people.
That is so true. I don't know them personally, but I've heard really niche podcasts that are targeting these very niche, very valuable audiences, maybe private equity within the agricultural sector. It's not going to get millions of views, really. But if the people that love it are watching it and they got value in it, and some podcasters sell specific things to these people, and they make tons of money.
Yeah. I guess quality over quantity if it's your right target audience.
Precisely. So I would agree with that.
Cool. If your dream guest intimidates you, that's a sign that you should reach out.
Yeah. You never know what they could say. And I have been intimidated by guests who are so successful and so driven. And they're kind of like They're a bit crazy, but it's nice to be around that. And it's really lovely to hear their insights and their perspective on the world.
Growing a podcast today is more about social media strategy than audio content.
I think both is needed. If you have a good quality podcast that no one knows about, there's no point. But if you have this amazing podcast and just the quality and the content's not there, like people are sitting in the podcast, the people that do listen to it are going to spend a good amount of time with you. And if they don't find it valuable, it's funny because some of our best performing podcasts are the ones that look bad. I don't know if you saw one of our latest podcasts. I didn't even want to put it out. We didn't have a camera, so I just used my iPhone. And there were so many problems with it. And I was like, oh, this is just not nice.
Feeling.
Yeah.
You think it's going so well, and then you see it, and then you're like,
You're like,
do I want to post this?
I honestly almost didn't want to post it, but because the guest was good and what she was saying was good, people listened, people stayed, and then the YouTube algorithm knows how long people are listening to you. And if your engagement and click through rate is high, they will continue to promote it.
Yeah.
So then you don't even have to do marketing because it'll kind of sell itself almost.
Yeah, because I guess there's like a lot of podcasts that don't do that much marketing and they're still successful.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you need both, yeah. You don't have to wait until you're experienced to start something impact.
I agree. If you've got a problem, don't sit on it for too long. Just go for it. However, I've now come to realize that there are a lot of founders that have a lot of great experience. And Georgie Holt was saying she worked in media for tens of years. And that's how she finally got a big break. So there's two ways to do it. Either you're young, got loads of energy, you make things happen, or you're just such an expert that you've got the resources, you've got the network to make things happen. So back to your question, I think, yeah, you can start when you're young or you can wait till you're older. Any time is fine.
I think that's quite nice to hear actually, because I think obviously it's great for these Gen Z founders to be encouraged to start before they're ready. But then a lot of people that have felt too nervous to start or not experienced enough to
Yeah.
start, it's still nice for them to hear that they can also.
That is not too late, yeah.
Yeah.
But I have heard a statistic that unicorn founders are younger, which is quite crazy. Like people who have billion-dollar companies tend to be younger than the average age.
I guess they're just braver and
Yeah.
Maybe braver, or they know the new things in the market.
yeah, true.
If you do have the energy to go for it, like just go.
Yeah, and no responsibility as well. Yeah,
Literally.
that's nice, isn't it?
Sometimes no rent to pay.
No rent to pay,
Yeah, less consequences.
Yeah.
less consequences. Yeah, maybe no children to feed, or yeah, no children to feed.
Oh, I love that. Sorry.
You don't need a co-founder. You just need ChatGPT and a Canva account.
Ah, I've not had a co-founder before. I've had close team members, but it would be, for me, it would be amazing to have a co-founder because when you're down, they're up. When they're down, you're up. I think it's nice to bounce ideas off people. But yeah, if you don't have a co-founder, you just got to make it happen one way or the other. So ChatGPT can be a co-founder, but I think I like the accountability of having a team and people around
Yeah,
you.
it can motivate you and keep you going. But it is amazing that we have access to all these tools now that make it so easy to start a business or to start a podcast.
I know friends who are starting business that use ChatGPT for everything, brainstorm with me. What ideas could I do next? What mistakes did I make?
Yeah, we love it.
Now we're going to move on to the listener dilemma. Everybody has said, I really want to start a podcast or a creative side project, but I feel like I'm not experienced enough or successful enough yet. What if no one takes me seriously?
That is okay that they don't, because you can always work until you know what you're about. And then eventually, when you've done enough reps, people will take what you've done seriously. So just go for it. You've got to start somewhere and you'll eventually get to hopefully where you need to be. I was watching this LinkedIn post where after Mr. Beast went viral, he had made like 455 videos. So that was 455 reps. So if you do something and you iterate and improve on it, there's no way you won't be good by the end of 455 podcasts, right? Yeah.
Exactly. You have to be in it for the long run. You can't just do 5 podcasts and think, oh, well, I'm not seeing results. It's like when someone's creating a business, it could take 5, 7, or 10 years. If you stick at it and you believe in it, then you'll get somewhere.
That's true. You've got to want it. It can't be this quick money thing or this quick thing. Nothing ever really good is quick.
So often people are scared of what other people will think of them. You mentioned, it was off the podcast, but earlier about how you still find it a bit cringe sometimes putting posts out there. And I heard somewhere on TikTok, everyone finds it cringe, but it's cringe until it's not.
Yeah. I also try to remember that people don't care as much as you think they do, because I would post a story about the podcast that I thought was like really out there, and I used to ask my sisters, oh my gosh, did you see my story page, after I'd seen them watch it, and they were like, no, I didn't even take note of it. You're right, there is being cringe, but then even if you are cringe, no one's going to think about it more than 30 seconds. Yeah.
So we're about to wrap up. We just
Mm.
want to ask you a few more questions. The first one being, where do you see Nova and Boba going in the future? And is podcasting the end goal for you?
I would love to run more community events because I feel that's where people are inspired. They listen to the podcast and they meet people in person. And once you see someone a couple steps ahead of you, that's where the real magic happens. And I'd love to have regular sponsorship and be able to have a proper studio that can go in and film all the time. We're not really there yet. It's still quite a messy process. And I'd love to streamline everything and make things really smooth. And we want to treat the podcast like a product, see which segments people like best, and make the podcast as valuable as possible. Take out bits people don't like, put things on people do like, really be so data driven about what people really want to hear. Look at the trends, ask people during the podcast, and make this one of the most fun, best, interesting podcasts ever.
We just wanted to know what your vision was for like entrepreneurial education and what the school system gets wrong.
I have to admit, there are some amazing schools, but I think it's like measuring children, like measuring a fish on how to climb a tree. There's so many different types of children, so many different needs they have. And the class sizes sometimes are 30 plus, and a teacher can't get to all these kids. They do what they can, but they just can't. And I feel like some students get a bit lost in the system. And then once their confidence is gone, they're actually playing catch up forever. And these kids, they turn into adults who have no confidence. I know people who are 50 plus that are like, I don't have confidence. And this started when they were in school. I feel that school needs to have topics on resilience, entrepreneurship, public speaking, things that you're actually going to need in the real world rather than just making people pass certain grades or do certain things.
School was literally just a
Mm,
memory game. You
just a
have to
memory game.
remember the most out of everyone. I don't have a great memory. I
Mm.
didn't do amazing. I was average.
I think it's also even telling students they're average. I just find that whole thing not great because some children I've worked with on a very specialized basis who, they said they didn't have a good memory. I've worked with them a bit more, built their confidence, and they've realized they're actually really good at stuff that maybe someone told them they weren't, or they were being graded on a bad day. That whole sort of situation with schools, it does sadden me quite a bit. I'm not sure what the solution is though, and unfortunately I couldn't solve it.
I think it's literally just as many well-known entrepreneurs just spreading the word, like Simon Squibb trying to change the system and the government actually listening.
I think Daniel Priestley was saying that it's not really in their interest to have people who are like, maybe super motivated, super confident, because they do want to funnel people in the working system.
Because entrepreneurship isn't for everyone.
To be fair, it's not for everyone. And we do need employees, but it's about finding the people that it is right for, making sure they do have the opportunity to go for it. I think there's a lot of people who could be great entrepreneurs who haven't had the opportunity.
What do you wish you knew sooner?
I'd say what I wish I knew sooner is that having faith as small as a mustard seed can move mountains. And if you think it can happen, it can happen.
Believe in yourself.
Yeah.
I can see that you're really true to that because you literally mentioned it throughout the whole thing to believe in yourself and how much you value that. So that's really nice.
Yeah, that's what I wish I knew sooner. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on our podcast today. We definitely learned a lot.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been a really pleasurable experience. Thank you, guys.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, like, follow.
And don't forget to check out some of Ama's work and her podcasts.
I will drop the link for Nova and Boba in the description. Go out there.
And don't forget to leave us a review.
And we will
See you next time.